Hello everyone, welcome to Anchor Bar here in Leesburg for another episode of Sports News with Noud live interview. I'm here with 6-year NBA veteran, UCLA Bruin, and the LA Lakers' worst nightmare, Stu. Great, how are you doing, Stu? Very good. Thank you for being here with us and everything. I know you have a love and appreciation for Anchor Bar, and let's just get right into it because everybody wants to talk basketball. It's that time of the year. Playoffs are coming, play in, the March Madness just got finished. What made you fall in love with the game, and when did you find out, hey, I'm pretty damn good at this?
I don't know if I was ever damn good at it. When did I fall in love with it? When I was a kid. So my dad was career military, raised in every Army base you can imagine overseas. I didn't have the benefit of going through in the States when you start learning it's a business. I was in Germany at the time. My dad's last assignment was at UCLA as the ROTC commander, and we went to LA public school. Dad bought a house, and we went to the wrong high school. We didn't know about districts. They wanted my parents to sell their house and move. So that was the kind of first inkling, and I was 6'10" at the time. So ended up going to a place called Kennedy High School in the San Fernando Valley. Had a great coach, a guy named Darren Day, was a senior there, All-American, and just had a chance to learn that it's now not something. I played baseball, I played soccer in Germany, played basketball, but it was becoming a real thing.
Right.
I always loved it, but that's where I started to say, okay, wait a minute. I always wanted to play at UCLA when I was a kid. You got the posters on your wall. But I never gave it a thought that it could ever happen until about going into my junior year.
Awesome. Well, nowadays, you know that recruiting is different with social media and these AAU teams and all that crap. Back in the day, you were on the recruiting trail, quote unquote. Yeah. How did you get noticed, and what ultimately put in your mind, I'm going to be a UCLA Bruin?
So back then, you did the camps. It was getting as serious as it was now, but it's nothing like it was now. Back then, what's that called, NIL? Yeah, I wish they had that back then. But just did the camps, got noticed, and then about my junior year, it just started taking off, and then finished the senior year, and started getting recruited by most of the big schools. You and I were talking earlier, I moved all the time, so there was no choice. I didn't want to move. I started moving, so ended up, Larry Brown recruited me. Took off about a day later after I signed. I think nowadays you can actually void your contract on that. And then a guy named Larry Farmer took over. But everything happens for a reason, and that was the reason I went there. Back then, it was just all the rules were completely different. We look at it now going, wow, they haven't made 100%. I just always loved the game. It was the love of the game first, not anything else, and then you slowly have to realize, this is a business. Right. You can't make a mistake that it's not, and that's some kids they don't understand that it's a business.
Yeah, 100%. Especially nowadays with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
If somebody told me my coach is leaving, they just hightail it right out of there. So.
Yeah. Back then you lost a year of eligibility. You had to sit out that year, so it was punitive back then. Mm-hmm. After my sophomore year or freshman year, I thought about transferring, but it was like, first of all, my dad was like, you're colonel in the Army, Scottish, you don't quit, and so I stuck it out. But as you and I were talking, I didn't stick it out all 4 years.
Right.
But life is going to do what it's going to do, and you better be prepared for it. And that's what I've learned. Basketball doesn't it's defined me in many ways, but it's what I did. It's doesn't make me one way or the other. It's just what I did. But I learned a lot of lessons from it too. So
100%. And you were telling me, I mean, being where you were, UCLA, you had some great summer basketball games in that gym. Can you tell me a little bit more about those games and what you learned from just playing with? You were telling me Wilt Chamberlain came one time.
Yeah.
All those guys coming to basically run some games with you.
Yeah, so LA people would gravitate there during the summer. So in the UCLA men's gym, un-air-conditioned gym, some of the best players in the league would gravitate there in the summer. So around about 11 o'clock, you'd be showing up. You'd go to about 3. And first time I experienced that, because my dad's office was in there, and wandered up there when I came one summer to visit him on campus, and I'm watching all these legends play. And so ended up getting in one game and Wilt playing against Wilt Chamberlain. And I'm a junior, and like, this is the coolest damn thing in the world. And I threw a hook shot on him and won the game. Now the problem was it didn't stop there. They started riding him. So he comes over, shakes my hand, says, "Good job, junior." Next game, he tore me. I mean, I have never seen a clinic like that. Because he still played volleyball.
Right.
So this guy could move, and he was skilled, but that was a great lesson too. And I'm like, hell, I have nothing to lose here.
Right. No, I mean, playing with Wilt Chamberlain probably back in the day, like, and he was old, right? He was like getting older.
Probably retired at that point, maybe 8-9 years,
wow,
give or take. So, but because he played professional volleyball, he's still in excellent shape.
Right.
But I mean, he's a massive man. He's just big. And I'm saying that, but he was just big. And, these guys, you're on your wall, and you're a junior in high school having to play against them, and they're taking it serious, and you're taking it serious, and trying not to get your head taken off. And it's just like, wow, this is the coolest thing I've ever done.
100%. Yeah.
Well, legendary. I don't even know if they still play there, but back then, if you wanted to learn ball, you went there and proved yourself there. So it was kind of cool.
Oh yeah. Now, with that being said, with those games, did you feel yourself getting better every time you did those games, like on the off season? Like, maybe not those games in particular, but like, did you feel like, man, I'm getting better, I can play with these professionals, stuff like that?
Yeah. So you learn through osmosis there. So and that's how you learn the game at any rate. So you can do as many drills as you want, but you're going to learn through osmosis. You learn how physical the game was. And there's no referees in these games, so they're going to go full bore at you. And it was just a different time, different era. And yeah, I think that's where I learned. Yeah, I could do this game. But like I said, I didn't have the benefit of doing the junior high and learning, LA basketball. And, they're being looked at by all these scouts, even back then. So to me, it was just a seasonal sport until I moved to LA, and then it's a business.
Oh yeah. So we were talking about it a little before, draft night, or you're getting ready to go get drafted, or you could tell the story about junior year
my lack of caring.
Hey, listen, a lot of people don't understand like how grinding this stuff is, and if it's not going the right way, what you could feel. So, can you just tell like our viewers, like, when it came to that point, what was like? People will think it's like, oh, you're so good at this game, but there's a lot more to it that goes mentally to make you think maybe I'm not as good.
So my story was, I finished my junior year. UCLA was in a transition, and as you and I talk, I try to find some positive about it, but the program is very much in transition. Coach had quit. Coaching staff that came in, we disagreed on some things, and I just wanted out. So like I said, my dad was the ROTC commander there, and I went over and said, I just want to leave. And that wasn't an option, so I defied him, and I put my name in for the draft after a night of probably celebration that I was quitting basketball. And I'd love to have that letter, because I probably wrote it in crayon.
Right.
Bear in mind, my career has gotten better the older I get too, and some of these stories get hazy, but I didn't think I'd be drafted. So draft comes around, my dad tells me to answer the door, and it's the media. And I didn't know that because it's Saturday morning, so I'm thinking the cops. And you got drafted by Indiana, and it was fairly high. I think it's 29 or whatever.
I was reading that, yeah.
And I think I said, what? And I had no clue what to expect, but it was high enough that it was, it made it real. And I hadn't worked out in 3 months. I was like, I'm going to medical school. I just wanted to go to basketball. But I wanted to quit for the wrong reasons. And that's where my dad had told me, life will teach you a lesson on what it's going to do. And I didn't realize that a gentleman by the name of Mel Daniels had seen me play. And because I was doing what I loved doing, which was righting wrongs on the court, some guy tried to take out one of my teammates, and Mel had seen that. Well, Indiana's basically in Eastern leagues, and it was a pretty serious rough and tumble league. And he goes, that's why I got drafted. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so the first time I met Mel was in a gym in Indiana in the dead of summer. He turned off the air conditioning. It's he, the ball boy, and me. I had just flown in from LA. And Jimmer is hotter than hell. And he did the full court layups with one person. I think I made it 45 minutes before I threw up. He talked some mess to me. I said, old man, we'll go again. He goes, sit down. And he goes, you have no clue why you're here. I said, yeah, if you guys want to waste your money, fine, go ahead. I have no idea. And he explained to me what my role was going to be. So now you're figuring out what pro sports, but really any business, is you're going to fulfill a role, and if you want to do it, he told me you'll have a nice long career. If you don't, you'll last 3 games and you'll be out of here.
Right.
So my role was to take care of problems. And so I was raised in Army community. So my dad was a colonel. My brother could talk mess and couldn't fight, so I did his fighting too. But that was my job.
Right.
And so they were getting beaten up and hurt, and a lot of teams. And back then, there's no flagrant. Flagrant foul, drew blood. And so it was like, okay, so you want me to defend these guys, go out there and get killed alone.
Right.
Okay, I'm crazy enough, I'll do that. So he goes, no, I will be out there every game. So we're still at the gym, and he goes, put your hands up. So I put my hands like an idiot, like defense. And he goes, no, put your hands up and take a swing at me.
No way.
I'm like, I don't want to hurt you. He goes, no, you won't even touch me. I took a full swing at him, and I didn't even touch him. He goes, I'm going to have to teach you how to fight now. First thing is never expose your jaw and throw a punch. And he goes, first game you're going to play, you're going to get thrown out.
Oh, wow.
People will debate this stuff, but that was 80s ball, early 90s too, that's how it was. And we had the problems stopped within a few games. A couple of knuckleheads would try you after that, but and to his word, the first time I went after Detroit, he is out there, and I had turned my back. I think it was Lambeer I was going after.
Oh, wow.
And I turned my back to his teammates. Rule number 1, don't turn your back to his teammates. And I was like, I got Lambeer and I finished, and I go, this is just going to hurt. When I turned around, I was trying to not get hit in the face. And I stopped and I looked, and Vinnie Johnson has Mel by the tie, and Mel's turning purple.
Right.
Okay. And the tie's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So Mel, after that, learned to wear a clipper. But Vinny was literally swinging them.
That's awesome.
So I get thrown out of the game, and back then there was beverages in the locker room. I think by the end of the game I was fairly well feeling I didn't care. I think he came in and said, "Do I speak English?" And I said, "Yeah." You told me to make it ugly. He goes, "That was beyond ugly. I don't know how you think that is." I said, "Well, just because you got your ass kicked, that's me. Whatever." And he goes, "I don't know if you're crazy or acting." I said, "Yeah, you'll never know." That was literally probably my first or second real season game, not preseason. We call it an up trial, but I was the NBA back then, and the job was to protect your teammates. Start it. I had a code. You don't start a fight, but you don't finish it. And it was just a different era.
Hey, I mean, everybody talks about 80s and 90s, how everybody would, if they came down the lane, you just elbow them and make sure they know not to do that again.
That's a love tap.
That's a love tap. Nowadays, you get hit on the head, it's 2 shots every time.
Oh yeah, but you get the Hollywood Academy Award. But yeah, it was. There was monetary consequences for driving the lane. I won't give away too much. But, there was rules. Those rules were enforced, but you had to accept it and you played. But it was every team had those rules.
Right.
It was I don't know. I got to live a dream. They paid me to do that. But back then I was skinny back then, but I could run, play defense. So he goes, look, you can cover most centers, and I could run, and I love that running down guards and talking mess to them. Doing it, but it's just a different era.
Right.
And I was like, seriously, you guys are paying me to do this. So yeah, I tried to quit, got drafted. Mel became like a father to me. I love my father, but he was my NBA father kind of. He passed away the same year my dad passed away, and I lost two fathers that year. But he's just a great man. If people that don't know him, they should. He was one of the first prototype centers, ABA Pacer, 3 championships. This man wrote poetry, and he was a hard ass too. He was their enforcer on the ABA Pacers, and he taught me how to grow up and respect the game and not do what I was trying to do, which was quit it. So,
right.
I own everything.
Well, honestly, I'm gonna look up Melo after this. I'm gonna have to sit. I have to know why he did all that stuff. But he's strong. I mean, you were telling me he was a Detroit guy, stuff like that. So he instilled in you gotta take no mess from anybody.
Yeah.
No one point in particular. No, I'm gonna have to bring this up. James Worthy and the Los Angeles Lakers. I said at the beginning of the broadcast why you were their nightmare. So what you could tell me that story and tell the viewers what happened.
I was framed. Evidently, there's video out there. So Charlotte, second year, same situation. They're getting tagged every game.
Right.
Muggsy, Rex are all getting tagged. So job was to do the job, and the Lakers. Really, that one. When I look back on the video, I was actually. So Worthy and I started, but it ended up with almost the whole team.
Right.
I was falling backwards, and I think I grabbed him, and he nudged, elbowed me or something. I pushed him back. No big deal, and then it just exploded. And then Divock and I think.
Oh wow!
And then I see Michael Cooper out of the corner of my eye, and. Like I said, you always protected your back. So I kind of turned and ducked, and he fell over my back and went to the floor.
No way.
So now I'm turning into WWE, and I was on top of him trying to. Well, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we don't want you to get cancer.
Pat Riley's on my back.
Oh, wow.
Someone's pulling my jersey. I'm getting choked, and. The fine was minimal to that point, but evidently I reached back or something, and I may have hit Riley. I didn't see it, but they said I did.
The pretty boy coach.
Yeah. Now the fine is outrageous and guaranteed suspension, but they didn't mess with us.
You have to set a tone in those games, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it just exploded. That one exploded, and then there may be something in Malaysia. You can look that one up too.
I did not look that one up, but I'll take your word for it so you don't get in trouble. Oh man, but in that time period, you were in the East, right? You were with the Hawks, the Pistons. Michael Jordan's coming on the scene. Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, all those guys.
Legends. Yeah.
Legends. So the real question is like, how did you guys navigate that Eastern Conference? Or like, what was the team you're like, okay, I know we talked about the Lakers and they couldn't mess with you guys, but what team in the East you're like, we want to get these sons of...
Oh, it was... So Michael's first few years, they struggled until they started getting other components, and that had a lot to do with what Michael wanted, how they did it too. So he was instrumental in that. But so at first it wasn't really them, but the Pistons, New York was good. Atlanta, you had your perennial powerhouses. But for us, Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, the ones you're going to play on a regular basis. Celtics, the Celtics were, and then playing in the old guard. I never played in the new guard, but the old guard, I mean, I'll probably get chastised for it, but it was a wrap.
No, that's what they've been saying.
And Ainge and all of them knew. So if you ever seen the old parquet floor, they knew the dead spots. So
that's what they were saying.
Yeah, they would push you through the dead spot, and the ball would go in the little stick and not come back up. And they knew it went, and then they knew the dead spots on the floor. And then the stories about Red, if they thought you were a threat, they'd turn up the heat and paint the locker room, oil-based paint.
Yeah.
So your eyes would be stinging before the game, and the cats in there, like the size of this. And I asked one of the security guys, "Oh, those cats so big, you guys see the rats?"
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Just all these old school arenas, just they weren't the skyboxes. At the end of my career, some at Charlotte, but these are old school arenas. The old what was the Memorial up in Chicago?
Yeah, in Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, so the ice would be so cold you'd have to put your feet on towels because you'd come in the game, your feet would be frozen.
Oh my God.
So you'd have your feet on towels, and then if they didn't have the heat right, you'd get this sheen of moisture on the thing, and you go skating out of bounds. So it was you took your life in your hands. It's old school basketball.
They talk about it like it's football. They say that's football. Now, there was a question in the crowd before we got started. I have to ask you, what's your thoughts on Dominique Wilkins? You don't have. I mean, hey.
He's an interesting guy. Had a great career.
There might have been an altercation with you and him.
I mean, you could say that. He could jump out of the gym.
We won't go too much into it then. If you don't.
Remember that cancellation thing?
Yeah. Hey, I told you I wasn't going to set you up, but I had to ask that one. But real question, you did play with a lot of good players. You played with Reggie Miller. You played with Patrick Ewing. What guy stood out the most to you as a teammate when you were playing in the NBA?
As a teammate or just playing in general?
Both, teammate and like a guy people wouldn't understand like how good of a teammate he was, and then the best player you played with.
Teammates a lot. So let's start with teammates. I mean, I played with guys like Chuck Person, Reggie, obviously great. Reggie, I played with him at UCLA, and then he comes in as this skinny runt in the NBA, talking the same madness, backing it up, and I had to keep people off of him for a while. But guys, teammates like that, heroes. I got to play against Dr. J.
Yeah.
Julius, and it's a shame. People nowadays, the younger fans, don't understand what he did. So you had transition periods in the league, and he saved it before the league in the rough years between like the 70s.
Right.
And it's Doc and others too, but Doc, and then you had Magic and Bird resaving and doing what they did to revitalize the league, and then Jordan. So Doc, he was on my wall as a kid. I had that poster where he's dunking over guys. So rookie, I'm playing in the old Spectrum. I kick the ball out to the point guard. Everyone's transitioned down. Doc's backpedaling, guard bobbles it, and now Doc gets the ball, and he's coming at me. And I'm like, oh, geez, I've seen this poster, and I'm not making your poster. But it's Doc, and so the rules I told you about of no driving, I had to find a compromise, and the compromise was the smartest they ever been. Is I just grabbed him in midair. I stepped out so he couldn't dunk over me, grabbed him in midair and set him down. I probably dusted him off.
Just being nice as a rookie.
Yeah, I'm not going to make your poster. And he was like, thanks, rookie. Because he knows what I could have done to him, but it's Doc. I'm not going to drop Doc. I be Bill the rest of my life. And that was memorable. I saw his retirement party, and I just think it took like 3 hours. And to mean that much to people, this game, we didn't start a game till like 11 at night or something, but just to see that, and I saw a few of those over the years, and that's the kind of thing, so the heroes, Artis Gilmore, strongest man I've ever played against, and then you see others that tragic stories, but equally had good stories. A guy I thought was another had potential. Daryl Dawkins.
Yeah, we were talking about him.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that guy could dunk on anybody, but just had a mixed bag, and unfortunately had things he was dealing with. And you hate to see that because, what would his career have been without it? And it would have been marred, and people, because he was phenomenal.
Right.
And I'm forgetting a lot of names. But, and then when I was at the Pacers, some of the old school ABA Pacers, a guy named, you want to read about someone, read about Roger Brown. Roger Brown never made the NBA. Various reasons you can read about it, probably could have been one of the best guards ever.
Really?
Read about Roger Brown. And you had, Billy Keller, Ned Olicki, you had George McGinnis, you had my guy, Darnell Hillman, Dr. Duncanstein. Read about him, and he literally could take a dollar bill off top of the backboard.
Wow.
He told me a story about when he was drafted, and they had a choice of going to Vietnam or making the basketball team. He said that was the hardest tryout he's ever had. They were drawing blood. They were still able to play, and we'd play against them. And just remember the men's gym story?
Yeah.
You got to play against all kinds of guys, up and comers. Obviously Jordan. Just indescribable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I lived a dream that I wanted to live. I was a journeyman.
Right.
I did my job. We talked about the rough housing we did. It was just part of the game. It was accepted back in. But I could play defense. I could score when you get the rebound, put it back in. I could run really well. I knew what I did well, and I knew what I was not supposed to. And that was the role you were supposed to fill.
Right.
If you want to know the secret on any job, find out what's most important to them, fill that role, and you'll have the career you want. If not, and you fight it, you will learn that that's not what they want.
No, that's awesome. we talked about it with the enforcer kind of position in the NBA from the 80s and the 90s. Nowadays, you see guys scoring 40 points on a regular basis, and we did talk about eras and who's the GOAT and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you made a very good point, and you said, we got to stop doing that and just do it by like eras, because I mean the rules now are different for LeBron and Kobe, whoever. And we talked about the reemergence of the center with Victor Wembanyama and Joel Embiid and Joker. Just talk a little bit more about that and what you've seen like over the years, like.
So the game has evolved. It's evolved, and the center has kind of taken a back seat. But with some of the names you just mentioned, and those two kids that were in the finals in the NCAA, you're going to see them make their neck. So I think it'll go through a transition where you will see centers again. You will see an evolving, but the NBA is astute, and they brand themselves.
Right.
So they do know what the fans want, and this is what the fans want. You know, back in the '80s, it was cement heads doing what they do best. But I think the center's going to make a comeback. That Wemby kid, oh man, I think he's awesome.
He's free.
Awesome. Joker's awesome. These kids, they're kids to me, but they are doing things, and I'm not naming all of them.
Right.
You know, you got so many to name, but they're going to transition the game. It's going to find an equilibrium. And I'm not saying that the game is not a great game. It is. But as you said, and what we talked about, you have to look. If you look at the game in eras, then that makes sense that you could say, okay, maybe he is the GOAT. You know, so you had the '60s, early '70s. You had Russell. You had Chamberlain. Take your pick, name and name. Chamberlain, Russell, those guys run right. Then you had the transition where the '70s were tough. You had Doc mostly, his days, and then you had Bird and Magic coming in, and Jordan, right after them. So if you look at that, you can make sense of it.
Right.
And everybody's going to watch this going, oh, he's full of BS. And, you know what opinions are like, so everyone has one. And that's the beauty of the game is that you can find what you want in this game, take away what you want from it, and that's what you and I were talking about is that people are going there to see talent. They're looking to escape for a few hours, entertainment, if you want to call it. It is entertainment. But the NBA does know how to entertain.
I mean, you saw the numbers. People are involved, loving the game and seeing the playoffs, everything like that. So, I kind of want to talk a little bit about your military background and everything for just a little bit. I know you have a deep appreciation because of your dad, and here at Anchor Bar, as you can see, they love their military and veterans. I mean, me personally, my girlfriend, her dad served in Vietnam, and I have a deep appreciation for that. So just tell me a little bit about the military and what you...
So I always said that when I was a military brat, that's when life makes sense. There's rules. You act up as a military brat, your dad's career is over.
Right.
And doubly bad was my dad was military police, ran the largest brigs in Mannheim, Germany at the time. Drug agents, terrorist agents. I had no fun growing up. And I can tell you my dad let my brother stay in the NP station for the whole day. We won't go too far about that, but my dad had a code. I love the military life. At 7 feet, I don't think the military is for me. I remember getting a letter from West Point, and obviously you got to qualify for West Point beyond just being able to play basketball. And he goes, no, that's not for you. I think he knew my personality, that I would probably end up hitting somebody. But I look back and go, man, that would have been cool.
Right.
But yes, military to me is everything. at that point, these gentlemen over here, these are my heroes.
Right.
So Rod and Lee and Rowdy and anybody that's military, these are my heroes.
Right.
I remember Fort Benning during the Vietnam era and not understanding why we're packing up a friend's family when father was gone. Not understanding fully why, my dad had to go for a year and would he come back. So, yeah, I have the utmost respect for the military, first responders, anybody, but these guys over here, what they've done with their company, and this is awesome. They have much appreciation, guys, for your career and what you've done, and much success in your things. And it's important to your father too.
Yeah. I mean, they gave a kid a dream to do this live podcast stuff. So, but it came at a 50 wing limit, but it's okay. It happened. But so no, but I really do appreciate them, and I appreciate all of our military and veterans that are out there doing their thing. But Stu, this was a great podcast. Thank you so much for coming. You need to come back, and we got to talk more stories. We won't bring up Dominic Wilkins, I promise. That I'll take off the table. But but thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here at Anchor Bar here in Leesburg, Virginia. Come get some wings. Come see the military stuff. I mean, the playoffs are coming. Basketball playoffs are coming. Come get a beer, everything like that. And download, and subscribe to Four Corners Radio. We'll still have these live podcasts every month. And hopefully Stu comes back and be a recurring guest. So stay breezy, stay easy. One love to everyone out there. Thank you guys.